Aryna Sabalenka bluntly makes one thing clear after being asked Iga Swiatek question. Aryna Sabalenka was quick to underline to the press that Iga Swiatek wasn't her only rival, as the world number one noted that there were several other players she considered very dangerous. The Belarusian, who enters the Australian Open as the top seed for the second year in a row, was asked about her rivalry with the Pole during her pre-tournament press conference. While Sabalenka acknowledged that Swiatek was definitely one of her biggest rivals, she made sure to name several other top 10 players who could absolutely pose her trouble at the opening Grand Slam of the year. It's not only about me and Iga. There's Coco, Elena, Jessica. I don't want to forget about anyone right now. It's not only about me and her. It's crazy to think we only played once last year. We haven't played this year yet. I hope we're gonna play more often this season. As I said, it's not only about us. There are so many players I also have a great rivalry with, the world number one underlined. Sabalenka and Swiatek clashed only once last year. When the 2025 season started, no one could have predicted that Sabalenka and Swiatek would meet only once on the court. But exactly that happened. However, the Belarusian made that one match special after she managed to beat the Pole in the semifinal at Roland Garros and become the first player since 2021 to pull off a win over the world number 2 at the French Open. Since Sabalenka and Swiatek are the two top-seeded players at this year's Australian Open, they cannot meet earlier than the final. Aryna Sabalenka bluntly makes one thing clear after being asked the Iga Swiatek question. There are questions that sound innocent until they land. They arrive dressed as curiosity but carry the weight of comparison, rivalry, and expectation. Aryna Sabalenka knows that kind of question well. She hears it whenever she is winning, whenever she is losing, and especially whenever Iga Swiatek's name is in the air like a benchmark rather than a person. So when the question comes, Sabalenka does not blink. She does not soften it with diplomacy or lace it with false humility. She does not pretend she hasn't heard it before. Instead, she answers in the way she plays tennis, bluntly, directly, and without apology. And in doing so, she makes one thing unmistakably clear. She is not here to live in anyone else's shadow. Aryna Sabalenka's tennis has never been subtle. It roars. It crashes. It announces itself. From the moment the ball leaves her racket, it carries intention. Power is not something she sprinkles into her game, it is the foundation of it. Her serve is a statement. Her ground strokes are declarations. When she steps onto court, she is not asking for permission to compete at the highest level. She is demanding it. Yet for all that force, the questions persist. What about Iga? How do you measure up to Iga? Can you stop Iga? What does Iga do better? Sabalenka's answer, whether spoken aloud or expressed through her posture, is always the same. I am not playing Iga. I am playing tennis. This is what her bluntness reveals. Not arrogance. Not dismissal. But clarity. Sabalenka understands something that elite athletes either learn or burn out trying to ignore. Comparison is a trap. It turns matches into narratives you cannot control and reduces careers into scorecards that never tell the whole story. She has been ranked world number one. She has lifted Grand Slam trophies. She has endured serving yips that threaten to unravel her confidence entirely. None of that disappears because another player dominates a surface or a season. When asked about Swiatek, Sabalenka does not deny the excellence across the net. She does not pretend the rivalry does not exist. What she refuses to do is let that rivalry define her worth. That refusal is not accidental. It is survival. Sabalenka's career has been built in full view of pressure. Early success labeled her as a future champion long before she had the tools to manage the mental side of the game. When the double faults came, they came loudly. When the losses piled up, they did so under a microscope. It would have been easy, even logical, to shrink, to soften her game, to apologize for her power. Instead, she doubled down on herself. That is why her bluntness matters. It is not just a personality trait. It is armor. When Sabalenka answers questions without cushioning them, she is protecting her focus. She is saying, my game is my responsibility. My journey is my own. If Iga Swiatek exists as a rival, That is a challenge, not a measuring stick for my identity. There is something refreshing about that honesty in a sport that often rewards carefully polished responses. Sabalenka does not always give the quote that fits neatly into headlines, but she gives the truth as she sees it. And the truth is that tennis does not require one dominant story. It allows for collisions of styles, personalities, and peaks that rise and fall at different times. Swiatek's game is built on precision, movement, and control. Sabalenka's is built on force, courage, and risk. One is not superior by default. They are simply different expressions of excellence. Sabalenka knows this. More importantly, she accepts it. Her blunt answer, then, is less about Iga Swiatek and more about self-definition. It is about refusing to let the conversation drift away from what she can control: her preparation, her aggression, her belief. In a way, the question itself reveals how women's tennis is often framed. Rivalries are demanded. Hierarchies are insisted upon. Someone must be the standard, someone else the challenger. Sabalenka's response disrupts that script. She is not chasing a crown someone else is wearing. She is defending the one she earned. And when she walks onto court, racket in hand, jaw set, eyes steady, that bluntness follows her. Every full-blooded return says the same thing her words do. I'm here. I am enough. And I do not need to be compared to be complete. That is the one thing Aryna Sabalenka makes clear. Not loudly, not poetically, but unmistakably.